Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cardano AMA update, where we give you update on the development of Cardano, the multiple development chains that are going on. And thanks for joining us. We have a whole bunch of questions to get to, so we're going to move forward. I'm going to start with just a general update on where we are, and then we're going to introduce some other members of our team that'll help answer some of the questions, and then we'll go through those. So where are we? Let's just start with that generally. We have the Jormungandr networked implementation rolled out and are getting great feedback from that, from the community. And we're going to give you a little bit more of a detailed update on that from the leader there in a couple minutes. The other thing we have coming up soon, I wanted to tell you a little bit more about. You've heard about a lot of it already, but for those of you who aren't familiar, we have the incentivized testnet coming up. And so what that means for incentivized testnet is we've taken kind of a measured approach to start this out. So one thing we could do is just, when it's ready, throw it all out there to the world, and then we'd have a brand new model of various implementations and concepts that haven't been tried much in the world, and then they would be exposed to the full force of the world and everyone's participation, and that would be a little bit risky. And so if you're going to test an incentives model, it really kind of makes sense to test that with actual incentives. It's really hard to know what human behavior would be without that. And so what we've chosen to do is start with an incentivized testnet. And so what that means is we will take a snapshot of the ADA ownership, which exists on testnet on a certain day, which we'll be notified in advance of. And then we'll pull those values into the testnet so that whatever ADA people have on mainnet, they would also have on the testnet. And this will allow people to take that ADA that's on testnet, call it testnet ADA, and they'll be able to delegate with that. And they'll be able to then get staking rewards for that. And we'll also be able to then test the operation of stake pools using the real incentives model. And so we can see how the game theory and the incentives actually works out with real people and real behavior. We'll be able to build up a stable of qualified, capable, experienced stake pool operators who know how to do that. And so that they'll be ready and practiced when it comes time to do that on mainnet, and we're moving towards decentralization. And we'll have a full testing of how the rewards, delegation, and staking models work when they're up against real human behavior. So initially, the ADA, the rewards that you earn on the testnet, it won't be spendable because you won't be able to get it off of the testnet. But at the end of the testnet, we're going to take those rewards account balances and then pull them into mainnet. And so that's why it's called an incentivized testnet, because those rewards will actually become real spendable ADA once they're pulled into testnet. And that's the fact that will end up becoming real live currency is what we believe will drive the real behaviors that we would see on mainnet and make it a real test. And so we feel that this is the best way to learn, the best way to refine our processes, the best way to refine the training and the instructions, and to ramp up in a way that would be a smooth transition as we go towards mainnet. So that's the general background of what's coming soon. Not to be outdone, however, we also, as you know, have an entirely separate development chain on the Haskell side, which is going quite well and moving forward along the lines of the schedules we've outlined before. And so, however, most of the update in this call is going to be on the testnet side, because we have a number of team members associated with that who can give you details there. And since those things are coming next, that's what we're going to cover in most detail. And so we have some really qualified, knowledgeable team members joining us today. What I want to do is invite those people to join us so that they can participate in answering some of these questions. So let's do that first. And so we have to get those people on this call. We have Danal Patel, who is the product manager for the Jormungandr testnet. Yep. Let's see. We're going to have him join. And we have Sam Leathers. Sam Leathers runs our DevOps team So he's really involved in the down in the guts issues of operating these networks and has answers for a lot of your deep technical questions. We have Alejandro Garcia. Alejandro's on our education team, and he's a key team member in creating the instructions and guidelines for operating stake pools. And we have Nicolas de Prima, who's the team lead for the Jormungandr effort. All right, did we get everyone? Technology, it works. I think we're just, we should get Nicolas in just a moment. Let's hope I invited the right Nicolas. Okay, I'm going to double check one more time. That should be right. Okay. All right. So let's see if I can see 4 participants. Nicolas, are you with us yet? Well, we have an interesting challenge. I think we are up against our number of seats. So why don't we do this? Sam, may I ask you what I can do is re-invite you. We wanted to start off with an introduction from Nicolas. Oh, I think we just, Donal jumped off. So let's reprompt Nicolas. I think Donal read my mind. There we go. Thanks for bearing with us, technical difficulties. Hey, Nicolas, thanks for joining us. So I gave the briefest of update. Can you give us some more detail, Nicolas, on the status of the rollout of the networked node for Jormungandr?
Yes. Thanks to everyone, we have been able to test live Jormungandr, to test live the network. We have been able to get and collect great feedback from everyone, especially that we have been able to test different configurations that we didn't think of. All this world is the network can be very wide out there, and being able to collect all this information that you sent us is great. And so now we have fixed bugs, a lot of them, thanks to you guys. Made a couple of releases. We have even more release coming soon, this weekend, hopefully. And with a very important fix for the network and the synchronization of the nodes. So yeah, getting there.
Thanks very much, Nicolas. And if anyone has any questions specific there, please put those in the questions, and we'll come to those and hand those to Nicolas when we get to them. And so let's get to your questions. So there's one right here at the top from Edutainment. Thank you for the question, Edutainment. And the question is, for many people, it will be interesting where exactly they can leave their ADA during the snapshot. Hardware wallets already been excluded, and I guess dataless paper wallets are fine. And so the question is, what exactly is the approach there? So we are planning to support both dataless and Yoroi on the Jormungandr testnet. It is true that hardware wallets are excluded. It's just not possible to make it happen in time. So if you have your ADA stored on a hardware wallet, you need to pull that off onto whatever wallet you're working with, which is most likely going to be your ROI, and just have it be on your ROI, not in the hardware wallet at the time of the snapshot. And we will be giving you guys advance notice of when the snapshot is going to be, so you'll know when you can do that. And then as soon as the snapshot is taken, we'll let you know that's done. It'll happen over the course of either a day or 2 or 3 days. And then you'd be able to put it right back in your hardware wallet and then leave it there so that you can keep it safe. So that's the plan for that. What have the development team learned from the testnet, and how has it changed your goals and priorities? So, it hasn't changed our goals and priorities, but we've learned an enormous amount. And so I wanted to thank the community for the amazing feedback. We've been refining the instructions we have. I think we'll ask Alejandro in a moment to give us some more detail there. But the biggest lesson we've learned is that we need more detail and more quantity of instructions on how to put that out there in whatever format works for different sorts of folks. It needs to be there for very highly technical people and for less technical folks. So let me give that one to Alejandro a little bit. What have we been learning about how we provide this help and the instructions to the community?
Thanks, David. Yeah, so for example, in this testnet, the amount of support we needed to do was a lot bigger than in the previous ones, right? So for example, we're changing our support process. Now, instead of going directly to developers, it's going to be a 3-level process. So the first level, people will go to the technical support department that we already have. The same people that have been providing support with Daedalus are the ones that are going to provide like first level support. Then it's going to go 1 level above, which is going to be either me or Dorin, which we have been the ones in the repository before. And then if we cannot answer the question, then it's going to go to Nicolas and developers, right? Like it's going to be a 3-level. So that will help us to manage the amount of support requests and questions. The nature of questions has changed from the self node to the networking node. In the self node, it was very technical, very deep. And now it's more like, how do I use this? So yeah, it's helping us improve our support node, or support process, and also, seeing people actually use it and interacting with each other, I think has been very valuable for Sam in DevOps and Nicolas in development. Right?
Oh, fantastic. Well, yeah, Nicolas, do you have any thoughts on has it changed your priorities?
Well, not really changed, refined, like you said. It's a good word. We have one of the main issues we have discovered is our peer-to-peer protocol, which is not supporting the load as we thought because of some parameters. And so we are more working now and focusing on trying to address these little problems now. Yeah, so it's more refined, more like try to focus on specific issues that people are actually having, and some issues that are more on the edges and less occurring, we leave a bit for we leave them for a bit later.
Thanks, Nicolas. So then let's get to our next question. Will IOHK, CF, and Amerigo continue to run their own stake pools? And do they plan to delegate to community pools? So we'll, all three organizations do plan to run stake pools. And remember, this is a test net. So what we want to be doing is essentially trying everything, seeing how things work. There's no specific plan for exactly, how we would be delegating to different folks, except for the general thought, both now and later, is that it's not our intent to compete with other stake pools.
And also, David, I think it's important to remind people that in the incentives model, it doesn't matter if you're like a huge stake pool, right? There is a top that you can achieve. Above that, it doesn't matter how big you get, right? So
that's right.
People shouldn't get worried like, CF has all the ADA in the world and it's not possible. The incentives are designed so that around 1,000 stake pools are viable. And
that's right. It's a good point to add some detail on. So in some other blockchain networks, the more and more, like for example, in mining or even proof of stake, the more and more you have, the more benefit. And Cardano is designed explicitly so that it will achieve more decentralization and not just concentrate on the largest stake pool. And so there's a parameter that optimizes for this, and eventually the rewards don't increase with the additional stake, so that there's motivation to choose new unsaturated stake pools. And so it's not the scenario where the big just dominate the small. It's explicitly intended to achieve bigger decentralization. So the next question is, what does the dev team need most from the community? And so I wanted to start out by just saying that the community's already been doing so much. So we just wanted to thank you tremendously. We've been getting amazing interaction with the community, and they've been helping us in a number of ways. They've been actually finding bugs that we could fix and helping us test, which is hugely useful. And the community's also been giving us feedback on the documentation and instructions. And so this is really important, because when this eventually is on mainnet, we need this to be as smooth as possible and as easy. And so what we need is for you guys to keep doing that and help us find those things, help us test in detail, and help us fill in any gaps or understand where the rough spots are in the instructions. We know that this is new. We know that sometimes it's confusing and complicated, and that's why we've invited you to help us, because we wanted you to help us find those problems. It's not always easy from our own internal eyes, from our perspective, to see where something might not be clear, and you guys are helping us with that. So, so thank you very much for that. The next question is, I'm after some, this is from, by the way, Lee Coots. Thank you for the question, Lee. I'm after some clarity on staking incentives. I've heard from 3 to 12%. I know each pool will be different based on the performance, but is there a general guide that we can work off of? Will the percent returns depend on how much ADA you hold? So that's a really good question. The percent returns would not depend on how much ADA you hold. The percent would be the same for everybody. What that exact percent will be, we haven't set yet. Although, you know, we would probably be closer to the top of that range. We want Cardano to be competitive, but you'll be hearing from us soon on the exact percentage. And then you will be able to see for each stake pool, there is a calculated projected performance, which would allow you to see what you'd be getting from each stake pool, and you would be able to rank them that way. So you could choose a stake pool that way, and that'll be an important part of the delegation process. What are the security risks? This is from Waylon Wilcox. What are the security risks associated with running a stake pool? Sam, I can't think of a better person to address that one. So Sam Leathers runs our DevOps team.
So the biggest security, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So the biggest security thing that you need to worry about with running a stake pool is making sure that your system is firewalled off, and basically you're locking it down as much as possible. You have to have the port that is doing the protocol open to the world. You definitely do not want to have the REST API port or like SSH open to the world and whatnot on the system. So pretty much at a system level, that's pretty much the most important thing, making sure you lock down your access so it's basically just that one required port open. And if you want to run a stake pool, you do have to have a public IP. So be aware of that you need to either do port forwarding through the NAT of your router, or you need to run it on a system that already has a public IP.
Thanks very much, Sam. I have myself on mute there. The next question comes from Mike. Thanks for the question, Mike. When staking, can you delegate proportions of your ADA to more than one stake pool? And if so, are there any pros and cons compared to delegating to a single one? Well, so if you were to look and see whatever you thought would be the best stake pool, and then if you were to delegate to multiple, one of those would would be probably your second best choice. So that's really the only downside. There's also the complexity of it. It will be possible to delegate to more than one stake pool if you were to choose to do that. There's no barrier to that. I'm not sure that there's a lot of benefit to it either. So, but it will be possible. And the next question comes from Matthias W. Will it be possible to run a node without a static IP by using DNS? Let's give that one to. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry, David. Just to go back to what you said, yes, it is possible to delegate to multiple stake pools, and you will want to do that because of the way the incentivized work. If you have too much stake, of course, you want to distribute your stake to different stake pools. Otherwise, you are going to reach the roof and to make this. You are not going to get all the rewards that you can get. So you want to spread your stake if you have a lot of ADA, obviously, to optimize your revenue.
Well, that's a good point, Nicholas. I hadn't thought about the perspective of the person who has a large quantity. So there is a point at which a stake pool is we call it saturated, and at that point you can continue to delegate to them, but the rewards don't increase in the same way. And so if you have a large quantity of ADA, then you would want to distribute that ADA across multiple stake pools so that you're not oversaturating the stake pools. And that way you'd get the best reward. So thanks, Nicholas. That's a good point. I didn't think about that one. So let's see. Will it be possible to run a node without a static IP, e.g. using DNS service instead of IP? So let's have Sam answer that one as well.
It's a peer-to-peer protocol. So basically, your peer is going to connect to the trusted peers, and then after that, it's going to broadcast its IP. The tricky thing, and Nicholas can answer this better, is the public address parameter and whatnot, how you would set that dynamically.
Yeah, so at the moment, it's not possible to do it on the node. You will have the issue. What you can do is restart the node quickly and put a new static IP address, a new IP address that you will advertise to everyone, and people who would connect to the previous IP address, they will end up in a wall or connected to someone who doesn't have the protocol. And the peer-to-peer protocols that we have implemented, Podcast is supposed to handle this. Obviously, we need to continue to improve it. So it's not available at the moment, but we hope to, at some point, be able to open more features to you guys.
Thanks, guys. Let's see. So the next question comes from, I think it's Jean Carlos Brinker. Thanks for the question. Since the Rust team is so ahead of the Haskell team, do you think it's still a good idea to keep the two teams working on quote unquote the same thing, and what are the benefits? So I definitely think so. You know, it's not a competition. It was always the plan to have both teams going and to have both teams implement Prowse. And so it provides a reduction in risk, but it also provides a lot of learning. So we get to learn from having this code base out there in the public and seeing how that's working. So I think it definitely makes sense, but let me hand that question over to the person actually doing the work. What do you think, Nicholas?
Yes, it is greatly variable, actually. It's not really competition, it's more complementarity. See it more like Haskell has a different approach to the software development. I'm a Haskell developer, by the way. It's the applied formal method and very strict algebraic property on the software development. And they come back to us and they tell us, oh, be careful. We need to make sure that this property is going to be correct in the ledger. So they warn us ahead of time. And because in the Rust team, we take a more agile development where we are more like crash quick and fix quick, you know. We see that, okay, so this theoretical approach idea that we had that was working like this, maybe is not perfect in the real world. And so we can they have this feedback, they get that information, and they can also progress and go way faster, actually. So it's mutually beneficial. It's no competition here.
Thanks, Nicholas. Let's see, the next question is from Marin. How is AdaPay going? So AdaPay is a payment service that allows some businesses to allow some people to pay with Ada. And so it exists and it's out there. There's some merchants using that. As you know, across all blockchains and all cryptocurrencies, it's relatively small adoption. And so this one is the same, but it's there and we expect it to grow. So this is from Pradipto. As Charles said, mainnet for Shelley is first quarter 2020. And in that case, when do you realistically expect Goguen? So the thing about Goguen is it's a parallel effort. And it's been going for a couple years and it's been going really, really well. And so Goguen is the smart contracting platform in the form of Plutus and Marlowe, our smart contracting languages and engine that people can build on top for when it's time to have smart contracts on Cardano. And so this will allow you to build any Turing complete application that you might choose to build on top of Cardano. And all that really needs to happen once Shelley is out there is to integrate in Plutus and Marlowe. It's a relatively, honestly, I think it's less than 100 lines of code. Those are some of the more complicated and important lines of code in the whole system. So that's not something we would be doing lightly, but it is not a large amount of work to integrate that system in. So we still think that Goguen and Plutus and Marlowe, the full smart contracting capability, can follow very quickly behind Shelley. And so we're still aiming at the schedule that's on the roadmap, which has Q1 2020 for smart contracts. Question from Mike. We all know that IOHK's contract ends at the end of 2020 and hopefully will be renewed by the government system. What is less clear, what is the status of Amerigo and CRF after 2020? And they also need to have contracts renewed. That's a good question, Mike. So let's see. CF is the entity which is supposed to carry Cardano forward, indefinitely forever. And it would be the CF that would be carrying out much of the activities that the governance system would determine, right? And so then Amerigo is a separate company. Amerigo is the commercial arm intended to help grow the community and increase the success of Cardano. But both are independent organizations, and they don't need to have a contract renewed. They can keep going at their discretion. And we, by the way, we do plan as IOHK to submit a proposal for what we would continue to do after 2020. And if we're doing a good job, then we hope that would be accepted. But in the end, the community gets to decide if we should continue. So Cardanoshi, thanks for the question. Oh, Cardanoshi question is there. Will the big exchanges be able to stake? And will Binance add ADA to its staking platform? I can't speak for Binance. I can tell you that we have an effort underway to work with exchanges and other entities to figure out how they can do essentially staking as a service, because this seems to be a theme going forward, and it's something we want to enable. Exactly what may be possible during the testnet or exactly when on mainnet, we're still figuring out. But we're in active conversations with those parties so that we can enable that. Let's see. We have a question from Richard. In the mainnet, after the successful testnet finish, would there be staking from Yoroi ledger enabled, please? So yes, it will be possible. Well, first of all, we will support Ledger out of both Yoroi and Daedalus, and it will be possible to do delegation and staking from a cold wallet, hardware wallet like Ledger. And so we want people to be able to keep their ADA safe, and that's one of the safest places for them to be. And so yes, that will be possible, but unfortunately that won't be possible during the testnet. Giancarlo Sprinker, another question. Thank you, Gene. I would like to know how we will delegate our ADA during the testnet phase. Daedalus or Roy, or will we have a JCLI? So yeah, the plan is to be able to delegate from Daedalus or Roy, to have a pretty nice user interface there. So that's what we're planning to do. Question from Marco: what is the best option for someone with 100,000 ADA to benefit from most from it after the release of Shelley? Well, so we consider the testnet to be the beginning of the release of Shelley, and so it would be a good idea to have that 100K in one of the Daedalus or Roy wallets, so that gets picked up by the Snapshot. It would be a good idea to delegate your stake to one or more stake pools during the testnet, so you can get rewards, and then those rewards will get carried over. And then once we're on mainnet, it would be a good idea to make sure that your stake is delegated so that you continue to get rewards. And so that's, if I were you, that's what I would do. Again, I'm not a financial advisor and not qualified to be one, but that's what I would do if I had it. From Lee Coots: is there a Shelley update for Daedalus coming soon? There will be a special version of Daedalus for Jormungandr, the testnet, so that you can do your delegation and other functionality there. Let me hand that one to Alejandro to give a little bit more detail.
It's like you said. So we will have a Daedalus version for the incentivized testnet that is going to connect with Jormungandr through the JavaScript library that it's already out there, and then people will be able to delegate their stake on the incentivized testnet, right? So again, as a practice for when we move to mainnet. So basically what you said, with a Daedalus version just for your Jormungandr, just for the testnet, the incentivized testnet.
So great when I talk on mute, right? Thanks for the answer, Alejandro. I wanted to ask you a favor, Alejandro. So we've discovered that we can't have all of us on the call all at once, and I did want to enable Donald to participate in this call. Thank you so much for your help, and sorry for that. So let me go and invite Donald again. Great. Thanks for joining, Donal, and thanks for figuring out, I think before any of us, what was going on with the maximum number of people and solving that problem for us. So you're a gentleman, and you're a gentleman and a scholar. So Donal Patel, for everyone, in case you don't know, he's owning the product function for the Jormungandr testnet, so thanks for joining us again. And I'm sure he'll be able to help us on some of these questions coming up. So the next question is for MY. Phase 2 of testnet has some issues now. Will the team release phase 3 next month, as Charles Hoskin said before? Yes, I think so. I think the person who can answer that best is Nicholas. Go ahead, Nicholas. What are your thoughts?
Well, we are working hard to fulfill Charles' promises.
Yeah, thanks, Nicholas. So keep in mind that even when we're resolving issues for one phase, we're also working on building the next. So these guys are working really hard to do that. Can you describe the testnet reward period? Who can participate, and when and how will rewards be transferred to mainnet? So that one's perfect. Donal, can you jump in and cover that one? That was from Einstein H. Thank you for the question.
Yes, sure. Thanks for the question. So in terms of the period, we'll run it basically until we're ready to cut over to Haskell. Who can participate? It will be anyone who has their ADA in their wallets when the snapshot happens. So you'll be able to participate in that. That will be a once-off snapshot. In terms of how the rewards would be transferred to mainnet, it won't be automatic, but we'll provide a procedure that will allow you to import your rewards into your mainnet wallet.
Thanks, Donal. What is the state of Jormungandr? My node stops syncing after a couple hours. So you know there's a support approach. I don't know that a live AMA is a place where we're going to be able to help you, but there is a whole squad of people waiting to help you. So Sam, why don't you want to give us a quick summary of the ways that user can get help with their node? Unfortunately, we don't have we had to ask Alejandro to pause us, but Sam, you'll know just as well.
Yeah, so the IOHK support team through Zendesk will be fielding support requests, so you can file a support request there, and they will get it routed to the right people. That's not saying if you're a technical person and you're working actively on it and you've been contributing directly issues to Jormungandr, I mean, we still want people filing bugs properly and whatnot if you have a good detailed bug report and whatnot. But if it's a support question, if you're a less technical person, you should definitely be going straight to Zendesk for any support issues.
Thanks, Sam. Let's see. The next question is from Steve-O, and he's asking, since Nicholas mentioned that if you have a lot of ADA, you may want to split it across. And so what would a lot mean? Do you want to address that one, Nicholas?
Well, from my development perspective, I don't know. It will depend of there's a lot of parameters that are there.
Yeah.
That are still going to be decided actually in order to for the incentivized testnet. Maybe Dylan can help more with that actually, or even you, David.
Donal, do you want to comment on that one?
Yeah, one of the important parameters is really the number of stake pools. So we have a desire to reach 1,000 stake pools, but of course we're not going to get that for the incentivized testnet, and would like to see numbers around, I guess, 200 to 300, for example. And so the more stake pools you have, it determines basically what that limit would be. So that's a key factor. What we'll provide though is a calculator. So as an ADA holder and as a delegator, you'll be able to use this and see what that means for you.
Thanks, Donal. Let's see, next question is from Mike, also Snapshot related. Will there be a mechanism in place to keep people from purchasing ADA for the snapshot and then dumping it and then still receiving rewards? There won't be a mechanism, but again, I'm not qualified to give financial advice, but if you think through the total potential rewards as a percentage, and then you think through the potential market volatility, it doesn't seem like a great plan. So you would be buying at a place beforehand when there might be more and selling later. And so I would suggest that if people think that through, that's really not smart. If you want to participate in the test net, then by all means have some ADA and participate if you think that's going to be good. And then longer term, if you think that ADA is a good idea to hold it, then have some. But to try to play fancy on the market doesn't seem like a smart move. From Richard, after the test net, the earned, oh, we lost that one. Where'd that go? Here we go. After the test net, the earned reward ADA from incentivized test net staking would be automatically transferred to my Daedalus Snapshot wallet, please. So I'll let Donal take that one.
Yeah, I think we covered that one a bit earlier. It won't be transferred automatically, so we'll provide a procedure to move that across to your mainnet wallet.
Yeah. We would be concerned about doing too much in an automated fashion because there's a risk that might, we could do a lot of non-reversible things that would be wrong. So the next question is from Mark V. If I don't want to run a staking pool, but want to test staking with a staking pool, how should I proceed? Should I download the testnet? Will I find a copy in my wallet? Yeah, so if you just want to test staking, delegating, you don't have to run a staking pool. Definitely not. There's kind of two categories of users that could be participating in the testnet. And so one of those are people who hold ADA, who could delegate that ADA and get rewards for that. And then the other category of participant would be people who actually want to run stake pools. And so if you just want to test staking, then absolutely, if you have ADA on the day of the snapshot, then you will also have ADA in the testnet, and then you would be able to delegate that ADA and get rewards for it. And that's all you have to do. The only thing you would need to download is there will be a different version of Daedalus to allow you to participate, but you don't have to use command line tools and worry about installing and running a stake pool. That's only for people who want to experiment and practice with running a stake pool. And for everyone else who just wants to experiment with delegation, get some delegation rewards, all you have to do is use that version of Daedalus to delegate your stake, and then that works just fine. Anything to add on that one, Denal? Okay.
I think you pretty much covered that, David. Yeah, that was spot on.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from NIDZ. Is the amount of feedback you're receiving more or less what you expected? I'm always amazed by what the community, how amazing they are and how much they want to help us. And so I'm really impressed. The feedback's been amazing. There's an enormous number of people participating, and they give incredible feedback. In fact, I think Nicholas mentioned that like the best QA person he's ever worked with is one of our community members. Do you want to tell that story, Nicholas?
Yes. Well, you know him. It's Reno, and we had an issue on the self node a while back, where the node was the leader election was not working after 15 minutes. We didn't know why, and we were looking in one direction. And Reno started to provide us great feedbacks on this. Started to show us how he was testing the node to make it last more than 15 minutes. And that triggered like this kind of cascade of thoughts of so if he's doing that, that means that this is working like that. So and we found the issue, and actually that was a very simple issue. Nowhere we would have looked because we didn't think it would be there. So it was very interesting. It was a very good one. But everyone else, OCG, I see a lot of names actually that are here. Marcus. That are helping greatly us with awesome feedbacks. Very well documented. You're great, guys.
Thanks so much, Nicholas. So, Nicholas, do you think could I be so rude as to ask you if we could invite Alejandro back in?
Yeah, no problem. I think it's time for me to leave. I'm staying around just in case. Okay. See you later, guys.
He has a lot of work to do anyway, people, so we should let him get back to that. All right, let's invite Alejandro back in. We'll have to figure out next time if we can not do the juggling. All right. So the next question is from Blind Dave. How many ADA will be saturation per staking pool? The shortest answer is we don't know yet, because it's going to depend on the value of a parameter and how many stake pools end up participating. And so what we can tell you is that there will be a rewards calculator which would let you calculate what you're going to get with different approaches. So let me hand that one to Denal to tell you about the calculator.
Yes, so we're looking to have the calculator when we launch the staking website. So that will be available, or to have two views, so one for the ADA holder and the other for someone wanting to run a stake pool. And we'll make all these parameters available and have explanations for how you can adjust them. And once the stake pools are live, then you can sort of look at the data there and import it into the calculator and get a more realistic expectation of the rewards. These will be approximate because you've got game theory and so on going on, but it will give you a good indication at least.
Thanks, Dino. All right, so the next question is from Yao. Hey guys, Cardano is still a fairly obscure project for the majority of newbies and average Joes in the crypto community. What is your team working on to bring awareness on the mainstream scale? And so yeah, other than a few, that's kind of true of all of them out there. There's a whole bunch of things. I'll just give a really quick summary because that would easily be the discussion topic for a whole hour or multiple hours. So one thing that really matters to people who would choose a platform and to people who care about and watch these things for what will be successful platforms are real solutions that solve real problems for real people in the world at scale. And so we have a number of initiatives underway to implement real solutions in the real world that will be used by a large number of people. And so that's the gold standard of validation that a platform is quality and will be adopted is existing adoption and is functionally and performantly addressing those real problems. So we have a number of those efforts underway. We have a really capable marketing team. It's not that we don't have that. You don't notice Cardano just rushing out to do kind of pump and dump publicity for nothing efforts. What really makes sense is to get the word out about Cardano as it reaches the point where you're able to build things on it. And so the Shelley release is the foundation that's necessary for that. And then on top of that goes the smart contracting platform. And then you can really build things on it. And so you'll be seeing a very substantial marketing effort come as we near that. And right now, we're focused on delivering a really high quality product and doing the advanced work that's necessary to get started with people who would be implementing real solutions so that we can demonstrate the quality of the platform. So next question from Greg Bell. Does the team see a preferred, does the team see a preferred platform emerging for a staking node? Not yet. There are a number of them that work. We have everything all the way from rock pies and smaller form factors, and the various groups of folks who are operating stake pools are kind of figuring out which ones work, and we have instructions for getting started on a number of them. And we expect that it would be the community that will figure this out over time and figure out what is an optimal place for it to operate. Sam, you could offer some thoughts about which are the most common platforms you see folks running on at the moment.
I think right now we're seeing most people running on cloud systems like AWS, Azure, GCE. We're seeing a lot of that, and then there are some people that are spinning up some really big farms of Rock Pi devices and Raspberry Pi devices that are just really interested in the toying aspect of using those smaller devices and trying to run it on as little power as possible. So there's kind of a split there. You have a lot of people virtualizing, and then you have a lot of people on the small devices. You don't have a whole lot of people running it on regular computers aside from that, though. So like people typically aren't running it on their desktop. We do have some, and those are the ones we're usually having to give support on how to get their firewall configured and whatnot.
Thanks, Sam. The next question is from Vladimir. Will better documentation on running Jormungandr on the testnet for Windows 10 come out soon, including step-by-step video guides? So Alejandro, you're the perfect person for that question.
Yes, we are doing a video, a collaborative video, me and other people on the team doing it step by step. We are just waiting for one bug fix that is one of the high priorities. to get fixed before actually publishing that, because once that's fixed, it's very easy, and without it, it's very difficult. So we're just waiting for that bug fix, and yeah, we will get the video step by step, starting from zero all the way to getting your stake pool running on Windows.
Fantastic. Thanks, Alejandro. The next question comes from iSteinH. Is there any indication of how many pools from IOHK, Amerigo, and CF will participate during the testing reward period? We really don't know, but the only thing I want to emphasize is that it is not any of those entities' desire to compete with other stake pools. So they may be participating in the process so that we're eating our own dog food and getting good tests. But all of those entities want people who are new to the ecosystem to be successful running their stake pools. So they would have no desire to compete with you if you're a stake pool. And then the next question is from Lee Kirby. For the team, what is the favorite part of working on Cardano? Oh, we should all answer that one. Denal, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I think what excites me most is that we're building infrastructure for next generation businesses. Things like Marlowe will automate a lot of the contracts that you have on Wall Street, and in just a few lines of code, and the power of these sort of domain specific languages. I think that's what excites me, is we're going to have real businesses building on top of this platform.
Well, thanks, Denal. How about you, Sam?
So I'm the technical person here, so it's the tech that really interests me. I mean, we're really working on cutting edge tech. We have research teams that are basically creating new algorithms for how proof of stake works and whatnot, and being able to implement those things and the way they're being implemented is just really exciting.
Thanks, Sam. How about you, Alejandro?
For me, it's the quality aspects that we use formal methods and serious stuff to develop serious software, as opposed, to a hackish approach. So I really like that part. I used to teach quality assurance, so that's part of my life.
Thanks. Well, and I agree with Denal. I get the most excited when I am thinking about the exciting things that could be built on top of Cardano and being a part of building a platform that could help enable that. And I think I've mentioned before, so part of what's exciting about it is that there's really hard problems that need solving, and really, really smart people to work with to solve them. And so sometimes my day feels like it's like a kid. I go from a candy store to a toy store to a toy store to a candy store. And these are just really exciting meetings to talk about these difficult problems. But those challenges translate into the capabilities that would allow people to build new functionality on the platform. And I find that really, really exciting. Let's see, from Octoman PC, you're saying we cannot stake individually. No, so you can actually. If you own ADA, then you could download the testnet version of Daedalus, and then you would be able to delegate your stake, and then you get rewards. And so there's nothing you have to to do. If you wanted to not have to delegate, then it is true you'd want to set up and run your own stake pool. But that seems like a lot of work to do just to stake. Not necessary, and probably not worth the work. From Greg Bell, thank you for the question, Greg. Should we give our friends and family ADA for Christmas? Well, I'm not going to give financial advice, but it sounds like a good idea to me, Greg. Next question from Adnan. In order to delegate or staking ADA on testnet, is it compulsory to keep ADA on Daedalus or your Yoroi wallet in order to participate? If they are, then Daedalus and Yoroi both will start at the same time frame. Yeah, so we do plan to support both, and it should be around the same time frame. Although I can't put words in anybody's mouth, and it will not be compulsory to keep it there after the snapshot. What's important is it would be in one of the supported wallets during the snapshot, so that would get pulled into the testnet. And the next question is from Lee Kirby. will the amount of rewards per block created for staking ever go down or be subject to halving like Bitcoin? It is likely that over time the rewards would diminish, but no current plans on that, because if you would imagine, you know, the same degree of awards 10 years from now, then that wouldn't make a lot of sense. So I'll leave that question at that. Also from Lee Kirby, will the ADA, oh, there we go. Will the ADA on the current testnet created by the faucet be part of the incentivized testnet? No, so the ADA that you would need to participate in the testnet would be ADA from mainnet, and faucet ADA, essentially play ADA, it won't get rewards, won't be usable on the testnet. The only ADA that you'll be able to delegate or stake with on the testnet will be the ADA balance that you had on mainnet. And the next question is from Unreasonable Privacy Requirement. That's an absolutely fantastic username, Unreasonable Privacy Requirement. Will there be a single point of truth repository for support questions to be able to search a repo first before going to support? So Alejandro, why don't you jump in on that one?
Yeah, sure. So now with the new support process, you will go and ask your question in Zendesk, right? But in Zendesk, you can build, we are building a knowledge base of all the issues. So by the time you are typing your question, you are going to get suggestions from the knowledge base of, similar questions have been answered in the past. So yes, the answer is yes, and it's in Zendesk, and we already have like 16, 20 articles for common questions, and it's going to increase just with, more and more questions that are going there.
Thanks, Alejandro. The next question is from Greg Bell. Just between friends, what's the New Balance deal? It's really exciting, Greg. That's what it is. And I apologize. That's what I can tell you about it right now. But just please stay tuned. I think you'll be excited too. Let's see, Joshua. How will Cardano upgrade to Goguen once it's ready? Time frame when? Yeah, so we're targeting Goguen by the end of Q1. And what's required there is an integration of the Goguen capabilities at the core of the node. It doesn't require a massive change to Cardano fundamentally, and even some aspects of that integration have already been started. So it's a relatively simple, constrained effort to integrate Goguen in. The main thing is to get Cardano Shelley out there, and then we can do that. How will be distributed the incentives from pool to users? I'll let Janal, why don't you jump in with that one?
So if I'm understanding the question correctly, any rewards you get will accrue automatically in your wallet. So there's no manual process to get them. Those will accrue automatically, and then you can transfer those to mainnet at the end of the incentivized testnet period.
Okay, thanks, Janal. So from Einstein, now that the testnet is well underway, what are the experiences on required hardware and bandwidth for ISP, for example? Could you run staking on 2 GB per month connection? I'm not sure we have complete answers yet, because we haven't seen things function on a fully incentivized system yet. But Sam, what are your thoughts on that so far?
That's a good question. I haven't really looked at the total bandwidth that we've been using. I can get back to you on future AMA though.
Yeah. One comment I'd add is even with incentivized testnet, that's as it sounds like, it's for testing the delegation and incentive capabilities. There's not likely to be a very high volume of transactions on the testnet, and so that would also be unlikely to provide that's not the place we'll be deeply stressing bandwidth requirements. So so that would come later. From Lee Kirby, can you talk about the Tangem card, potential use cases, where the private keys are stored? So for those who don't know, Tangem card's really interesting. It's a little wallet in the form, looks just like a credit card. And so you can imagine all kinds of things that you could do with a little credit card form factor wallet. Could be a part of a number of different applications. And so we've had lots of fun brainstorming sessions about what you could do there, but I'm going to save that for another conversation, because there's lots of things that you could potentially do there, and that's a sort of like a multi-hour conversation about applications of blockchain. So, question from Carl Whiston. Can you explain how delegators will choose a node, and also how much promotional work is a stake node operator expected to do? There's no requirements except to note that a stake pool operator will be able to have a website, and that's probably a good idea. And that there will be a place where a delegator can choose which stake pool, and that there will be a calculation of projected rewards from that stake pool. So if that stake pool, for example, they can set their margin. So if they decide to take a very large margin and give their delegators less, then you would be able to see you'd get less rewards from them. And so we think that people will choose the stake pools that seem to be high quality, and we'll give them high rewards. There's no required promotional work, and I'm not sure we would see a lot of it during testnet. But afterwards, we do think there would be good competition between stake pool operators. The question is, do we have an actual percent rate set in stone for incentive? Not yet, Steve-O, but coming soon. We'll keep you guys posted. Still working on that one. And so I think we should wrap up pretty soon. Let's take another one here from Greg Bell. Do you plan on marketing the next phase of the staking testnet, where there's a real return, to ADA holders enthusiasts that are not running staking nodes? And could somebody who doesn't even have ADA get some from the testnet faucet? So getting some from a testnet faucet, that wouldn't work for you for the testnet. It needs to be real ADA that you'd have on mainnet. And you'd need to have that ADA on mainnet on the day of the snapshot. But absolutely, the first part of your question, the answer is yes. This is for people who don't want to operate a stake pool, and they just want to try delegation and get some rewards for their ADA. And so we definitely do see this as for people who would like to participate in that way. So, so with that, thank you, Greg Bell, for that. Was a great question to wrap up on. And I wanted to thank very much Danal Patel and Sam Leathers and Alejandro Garcia and our fearless Yermangander team lead Nicolas DePrima, who joined us and then so modestly bowed out so we could have someone else join. So thank you guys so much for your help, and thanks so much to the community for all of your support in going forward on this thing. You've been tremendous. It's a pleasure to work with you guys. You're providing exactly the kind of help and feedback we need to make Cardano what it ought to be. So we're very grateful. And thanks very much, everyone. We'll be back with another one of these before long.